Good evening, guys. Hope you're all doing good. So, we'll start the meet in around 2 minutes. We'll wait for others to join.
यहाँ पर क्या होगा?
Ashwin, shall we begin?
Yeah, we can start now, I guess.
Yeah.
So, hi, guys. Thank you for joining the session. So, today the session will be conducted by Jasleen Sondhi, who is the Kolkata Codecademy chapter lead. So, she'll be taking on from here.
Thanks, Sharanya. So I'll just quickly turn on my video. Okay, hi everyone. I am Jasleen. So happy to see so many of you here. So for those who don't know me, I'll just quickly introduce myself. Sharanya, I'll be sharing my screen. Just let me know once it's visible.
Yeah, sure.
It's visible, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So hi everyone. As you can see, I am Jasleen Sondhi, and I am someone who really enjoys tech and art both. So currently, I'm a master's student at Christ University, and like Sharanya introduced me, I'm also the chapter leader for the Kolkata chapter. And Ashwin and I met through Codecademy, so he's leading the Jain University chapter. And today we have met up to discuss data science because he started this track about learning different things on data science. And I decided to come here because one, I am studying data science and I studied Numpy and Pandas in my last semester. And along with that, I also enjoy mentoring people a lot. So in the past 1 year, I have mentored over 1,000 students in tech, open source, and soft skills. And other than that, I recently also became the Gold Microsoft Launch Student Ambassador, which is like the highest honor thing over there. So if any of you want to apply to the program, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be really happy to guide you for the same. And other than that, these are some of my achievements. I'm also currently freelancing with Codecademy and Relevel by Unacademy. So again, pretty great platform. So if you want to learn more about data science, they have a lot of free content over there as well. So you can go ahead on that and also study from there. Other than that, if you need any tips on how to get internships since you're all in your bachelor's, you can also reach out to me for the same and I'll be really happy to help you. And I'll be dropping in my socials in the chat. So if you want, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I also keep posting about a lot of hackathons that me and my friends who are in other chapters and other communities host. So you can also join in there if you stay in touch with me. So I'm just dropping my socials in the chat. And now that all the introductions are done, we will start with the main part of the session, which is obviously the Python part. So I'll just quickly reshare my screen again. Just give me 1 second. So like the introduction said, it's about Numpy and Pandas. So I'll try to keep it short. I'll try to keep it fun. We will study for around 40 minutes. And maybe in the end, if you have any questions, we can take those up. So since most of us can only focus for around that time, I won't stretch it. And since we're starting at 6:05 right now, I'll try to conclude the session by 6:50, right? So I have this thing whenever I do any of my sessions like this. I've been doing a lot of them in the last 1 year. So I also always try to start them off with some of the memes that I really like. So I know there are a lot of events happening out there. So if you decided to join this one, thank you so much. I promise to make it worth your while. And yeah, these are just some of the memes that I really like about online meetings and online events. And I promise to end this meeting before your brain melts. And I hope you have good takeaways at the end of the session. So basically, again, you can't learn the entire Numpy and Pandas in 1 hour, obviously. So this is just to basically introduce you to the concepts, and so that you have enough interest and have enough knowledge that at the end of this hour, you can just go out on your own, read up on textbooks, articles, or even do any kind of small online courses or Udemy or Coursera, whichever you prefer. So that is the aim of the session, basically, to inspire you to learn about it, because I know most of us get scared when we come to coding and we think stuff like, okay, the name is itself difficult, we can't really do much about it. So the whole point of this session from my end would be to make you comfortable enough with these two terms, Pandas and Numpy, so that once the session ends, you can go back and start learning more about it on your own. So can I have just a small, quick survey? How many people do have a background in Python who are in the session? You can just type a yes or no, maybe. Okay, Shubham. Okay. So most of us have a little background, right? So we can get started. For those who don't, I'll try to make it as simple as possible so that you can still implement it while you're doing it on your own. And again, if you need any help after the session, like I said, my socials are there in the chat. You can reach out to me otherwise. So, okay, without, doing more of that, let's start with the main topic, which is Pandas and Numpy. So let's start with Pandas. Again, Pandas means, because why not? So Pandas obviously does not mean the literal pandas over there, right? It is basically short form for panel data, or sometimes it's also for Python data analysis. We can call it anyway. So it is basically used for, just a second. Yeah. It is basically used for working with data sets. So obviously we are talking about data science. So data will be involved, right? So why do we not just use the normal data structures available in Python and go for Pandas, right? So obviously in data science, there are data structures that are very large. So we have data sets that are huge, and the normal parameters or the normal text that we have does not really suffice. So that is why these people the scientists came up with these different types of libraries that we can use to reduce our work and make it more efficient. So basically, Pandas is specifically used in data science for handling all these data sets, manipulating the data, cleaning the data, and so on and so forth. So that is why the whole concept of Pandas came in. So you can basically do analyzing, cleaning, exploring, and manipulation of data using Pandas. And just a quick info, who created Pandas? It was Wes McKinney, my bad, in 2008. So basically, we use Pandas to make data sets clean. We do a lot of manipulations with it. We can find max values, min values, average values of really big data sets. So once I'm done with the introductions, we'll try to do some simple lessons on Codecademy. You can code along with me if you like, or you can just watch me while we do it. So we can just take a practical example and look how we are actually performing all this analyzing, cleaning, exploration, and manipulation. Right, and primarily, if you're just a newbie starting with Pandas, you can just know that there are two types of data types, you can say, but that's not the right term, but yeah, you can say that. So they're called series and data frames. So basically, if you're just starting out, you can start working with these two concepts of series and data frames. Again, we'll look into a little more detail what they are. So I hope everyone's with me till now. Okay. Yes. So in case if you still have any questions in between about what I'm talking about, you can drop the questions in the chat. One of the team moderators can let me know there's a question. So, and one simple thing, since it's a library, right, you have to import the library. We can't directly start using it because it's not just an inbuilt thing. We have to import it and you have to save it as an object and then use it further in our work. So this is a very common statement you'll come across if you're working with pandas. So import pandas as PD. And then we do all our operations using this PD, right? Okay. So that's done. We have covered that. Now let's talk about a bit about series. Since I said we will be mostly dealing with series and data frames, right? So it is basically like a column. That is the most easy way you can think of a series as in pandas. So it is a column, or you can call it even a one-day array. So if those who are familiar with C or Java, who might have done Java, so for me, as someone who studied Java in school and then learned Python, it was very easy to imagine series as a one-day array rather than a column, because then you get the idea of how to actually visualize it and then use it. So for those who don't know what an array looks like, this is how it looks like in the memory space, or how it's allocated. So it has indexes, and obviously it's a continuous form of data structure. So the values you store are stored in a continuous form. This is about an array. So series is kind of like an array. So you can imagine it to be looking like this. So series might look something like series A, and we can just assign it whatever values we want to add. Okay, and so this is basically a list. Now we have to convert this into a series, right? We can't just leave it like that. So list is also one of the data structures of Python. Again, that comes a little bit in the basics. So if you're not aware of a list, you can just look it up simultaneously while I write the next few lines. So now we have to convert it into a series to be used as a series using the pandas library. So what we'll do is we'll take another variable, and like I said, we will be using that PD that we mentioned above. We will change it to a series with the series function, and we will pass that series A through this. So this is how you can write a very basic pandas series if you're just getting started, right? And then obviously you can print this series, and we can do a lot of other operations which you will see in the Codecademy lesson. Now coming to data frames. Let me just scroll down a bit. Okay, so like we said, a series is one-dimensional or like a column. So data frames are basically two-dimensional. So we can have rows and columns both. So rows and columns basically gives us something that resembles like a table in database or SQL, whatever we have studied. So if you want to visualize it like that, you can think of it as a table in a database software or in a general database. Or even Excel. Excel is a very good and simple example of what a data frame might look like. So again, same thing we will do, we'll import it as PD, and then we have a data frame function for this as well. So if I want to show you how a data frame looks like, so you basically have, if, for example, let's take, let's call it numbers. Just an example, how we allocate values to a data frame. Allocate values to a variable that we want to convert to a data frame basically. So we will basically create a dictionary first, and then the dictionary can be converted to a data frame. So again, for those who don't know what's a dictionary, it's basically a key value pair data structure in Python. So for example, if my roll number is the key, which is say 27, and the value is my name, so it will look something like this. So obviously it can have similar entries, just like that. So over here we can do the same one, I mean roll number and name. So I, for example, say 27 and then my name, and then so on. This would be a dictionary, right? And then we can convert it with the data frames function. So we can call it as df numbers, because naming is better to do with whatever we are trying to do in our code. So we usually give relatable names, and we can do pd dot data frame and pass the numbers through it, right? So this was all about series and data frames, and the application part we'll see when we are doing the lesson on Codecademy. So are there any questions so far? If there are any questions, you can let me know. Okay, no questions. Okay, then I'll start ahead with Numpy. So then we would have enough time to go on to the Codecademy lesson. Okay, Sharanya, just let me know once my screen is visible.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, thank you. Now coming to Numpy. So again, you might have the same question like I did when I was learning it. That's why do we need Numpy, or why do we need Pandas if we already have Python as a language and we are doing everything with Python? Why do we need all of this, right? So basically, using Numpy improves speed a lot. So what do we mean by that? That the output of whatever we're trying to compute is very, very fast. So let's talk about what is Numpy and how is that speed fast. Why does a normal list not be as fast as a Numpy list or a Numpy array, right? Because there's no point of learning anything if we don't know what it actually does or what it actually improves in the long run. So it is basically a Python library for working with arrays. And it was created in 2005 by Travis Oliphant. Just a tidbit if you want to know who came up with Numpy. And Numpy is basically short for numerical Python. Some people call it that way. Right? So how is it again different from Pandas? If someone asks you that question, that what is the difference between the two? So Pandas basically works a lot with the cleaning of the data, the processing of the data, exploration of the data, manipulation of the data. Numpy is its complete opposite in the sense that we do mathematical functions, we do numerical analysis, we do all of the mathematical properties, mathematical operations on these arrays using Numpy. So in short, you can even work with linear algebra, Fourier series, trigonometry, matrices. All of that is possible in Python using Numpy. So, for example, if you are working on a machine learning algorithm that needs all of this math, so then you know which library to use when you are coding it, because we can't really do the math on paper and then convert it into code. So Numpy does that for us. You don't need to just study that math differently and the coding part differently. Numpy brings both of them together in the same place for you. So again, we have covered why we use Numpy. And another good use of Numpy is that over normal lists, dictionaries and stuff like that though they are slow to process. They are slow. But Numpy arrays are faster and give faster results. So that is why we prefer Numpy arrays when computing all of these mathematical stuff. So it is basically, if we consider the metrics, it is 50x faster than a normal Python list. So arrays are basically used a lot of the times when you're working on anything related to data science. So that is why we use this. So Numpy arrays, like I said, it is stored in that continuous form that I explained over here, what a 1D array looks like. So since it's continuous, the extraction and the CRUD operations are really fast. But when we have normal lists, they are arbitrarily assigned a location. So the fetching back is actually difficult. The access and manipulation is difficult in case of normal lists. But using NumPy arrays, since it's in a continuous order, the accessing, manipulation, the CRUD operations are actually easier. So that is why we go with NumPy arrays instead of the normal lists. So same as Pandas, it also has this very famous import statement. It is like import NumPy as NP. So we conventionally use NP, PD, PLT, matplotlib, for other libraries as well. So we try to stick to the convention when we are working with this. So what does an array in NumPy look like? Let's see that. So if we are, for example, if this is a small code snippet and we have imported the library, next we're going to work on converting a normal range of numbers into a NumPy array. So we can call it as ARR and we can put it as np.array. So this is a function and this is the object. And then we are passing our list through it. So we need to use another bracket. We could have used a different variable as well. That also works. So this is just done in one line. We can also obviously have a variable like this list and then 1, 2, 3, so on. Right? And then if we print it, we will obviously get the array back. And if we use the type function, then we will get to know that it is a NumPy array. Right? And these can be, like I said, in Pandas, we have series and data frames. NumPy arrays can be 1D, 2D, and even 3D sometimes, depending on how we create it, how we allocate the columns and the rows. It can go beyond 3D as well if we want to create something like that. Right? So this was all about the introduction of both of these topics. I will stop sharing for a minute and I will be asking if anyone has any questions about the basics that I did not cover. If there are any basic questions before we proceed further, just let me know. Anything, what's the list, what's the dictionary, what's the type function, anything that you still want to ask before we move on to the lesson, you can ask in the chat. I'll just take 3 or 4 minutes on that while the lesson loads. The people especially who said no, that they don't have any background in Python, they're feel free to ask. Okay. All right, then I don't see any questions in the chat, so we can get started with the Codecademy lesson. Again, I'm teasing from these lessons because, okay, does someone have a question?
As some of the students are actually recurring from this previous set of events, Jasleen, from Python sprint, they may have some knowledge on Python. I think that's why.
Okay, no issues. Yeah, I just asked in case, some people said no. So in case they wanted to ask anything, that's why.
Yeah,
cool. Awesome, then that's great. I mean, you guys should be pretty proud of yourself that you're using the sprint wisely and you already know a lot of fancy stuff about Python and data science because, like I said, I'm doing my master's in it and it is the next hot career option and it obviously gets you a great package as well. So great. I mean, you're using the chapter for a very good reason. These things are not really even, taught in universities, the way these chapters and all of us try to conduct these events, bring people who are already placed in like fancy companies and stuff like that. So it's pretty good that your chapter, Ashwin, is making the most of this study sprint. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just quickly reshare my screen again. I think we might conclude right on time. I'll try to keep my promise of not extending the session too much. Okay.
Previously you told that in what is Pandas, import Pandas as PD. What does it mean?
So basically, like I said, it is a library, right? It is not inbuilt in Pandas. So So we have to import it to use it. So that statement basically means import. Import obviously means that getting. Pandas is the name of the library that we are referencing. We are asking the computer code to get us the Pandas library, and that as is basically importing it as an object. So every time if we have to write pandas, it will complicate our code, right? So we are kind of just giving it a nickname. You can imagine it like that we are giving pandas as a nickname as PD. So wherever we want to use any of the pandas functions, so I'll just show you this pandas documentation once. I think then it would be a little clear what I'm trying to say. So even within pandas, we have a lot of functions, right? So to install and access all these functions, we use the nickname PD. So that is where that is what that line basically means. Just a second, I'll just reshare my screen. Pandas.org. It is loading. I'll just quickly share back my screen again.
Yeah, there's another doubt in the chat, Jasleen.
Okay, I'll just take it up after showing this library.
Okay.
So see, this is basically the documentation. So if you want to become a good software developer, the best thing that you can do for yourself is whatever you're working on, be it Pandas, be it APIs, be it Postman, be it Hadoop, be it any software, be it JavaScript, Angular, anything. Go read the documentation because that is what it was created for. So basically, a documentation is a skeleton type of document step by step about everything related to the tech. So most of the questions that we have a solution to it in the documentation. That is how it works. So that is why documentation reading is actually a skill also, and it also helps and saves a lot of your time in the long run. Even if you're working somewhere, you get stuck and you don't have an employee or a colleague or a boss to, resolve your doubts with, the documentation will come to your saving because you might just read through it and find whatever your error was or whatever you were stuck on. It is not loading at this moment. I don't know, maybe it's my internet. Let's try one more time. Otherwise, I'll show this to you at the end of the session. Okay. Okay, I'll just look into the question in the chat. So, okay, practice techniques to remember the different functions. Is that what you're asking, Srihashini? To remember the functions or to remember what they do?
Hello.
Hello. Hi. Yeah. Hi.
Hello, everyone. So I've learned it in my school at a very basic level.
Okay.
And since I'm a student who is learning coding right now, I'm very new to coding, but I've got some interest in it. So I'm facing these issues while trying to remember it. Every time I have to go through all that content again, which takes me quite some time. So I just wanted to know if you have any techniques or any short, what do you say, documents or something which help me go through it.
Well, I mean, the easiest way is to have a cheat sheet. I mean, you can either use the ones that are publicly available, or you can, just sit one day while you're revising the whole thing, make a cheat sheet of your own. So I might have a couple of cheat sheets. I'll see. Okay, I can share it here. Maybe Ashwin, I can share it with you and you can get it to them. So I have a few cheat sheets on Pandas and Numpy. So basically, that's the only way around. Otherwise, it is actually, not possible to remember every function that is out there. I mean, even in my university, when we had our exams, we had the option of using, the cheat sheets to refer the functions because there were so many functions and it's not really possible to remember all of them. But yeah, you need to remember the basic stuff such as importing, how to make a series, how to make a data frame, how to make a basic array. These 4 things you need to know. Then other than that, whatever functions you want to do, sort, filtering, managing deletion, addition, you can refer other sources. But yeah, this basic part of how to import and how to create the data structures, that I think should be enough to get you going. Other than that, I'll just quickly see if I have that cheat sheet handy. Just allow me 1 minute.
I'll also try to share with them after this event as well.
Yeah, I'll get it to you, Ashwin. You can give it to them. So these were basically shared by my professor at my college. So I'll just share my screen and quickly show you. So even at a job, I mean, for example, if you get a job and you're expected to build something using any of these libraries, they will not really expect you to know all of it. Even for an interview, they will basically expect you to learn the most important parts of it and not, all of this at your memory in a memorized way. That's not really possible. So you can either refer to cheat sheets like this that are already there on the internet, or you can come up with your own, whichever works. Because I know when we make these stuff on our own, we have our own way of remembering things and of writing down these formulas or functions, whatever you call it. So we have our own system of remembering things. So making your own cheat sheet will always be any day better than referring to an external one. But yeah, if you're working on any kind of project or for a test, you might mostly be allowed to use basic ones, the ones that are offering you all the possible functions that are there. So I'll share these with you, Ashwin, after the session, so you can get it to the participants. They can, if they want, they can go ahead and use them. Okay, 6:30, 20 more minutes, right? So we'll try to spend 10 minutes each on doing some of the lessons over here. There are two really great ones. So this one is called Learning Data Analysis with Python, and the other one is Learning Statistics with Numpy. Since I said for Numpy, we do mathematical operations mostly. So these are the two lessons on Codecademy.com that are really good. So like Mainak asked, what does this mean? So over here, it's clearly written over here. So it is a module or a library, right? So we have to import it first and then only we can use it. So over here, that is what we are doing. We are importing the library and we are basically, just imagine it to be, if you're not very comfortable with object-oriented programming concepts, just consider it to be that you're just giving it a nickname. And that is the nickname we will be using throughout our code when we are programming or solving whatever we are doing. Right, and a great description over here. Tabular data has a lot of same functionalities as SQL or Pandas. Pandas adds to the power of Python. So not only we can do coding, we can also generate this Excel kind of a table, and we can do all of Excel's functionalities in Pandas itself, in Python itself. So that is what makes it so much better. And this line over here basically is helping you to import a CSV file. So a CSV file is nothing but an Excel file only. Right, so an Excel file has rows and columns. So now using this head function over here, like I said, there are a lot of other functions in these two libraries itself. So you can remember the basic ones that are used for data exploration. You can remember the basic ones for adding columns, deleting columns. You can also remember very simple ones that let you insert things, delete things from the data set. And obviously printing the first 10 lines of the data set, last 10 lines of the data set, printing only a particular data set. Those things are basics, so that they should be enough to get you going. So using this head command over here, we're basically telling Python we want to see the first 10 entries. So we are passing the 10 value over here, and obviously it is showing us 0 to 9, whatever is there in this CSV file. Next, obviously, we are trying to see, we only want, so these df.showType is nothing but a column name. So all these column names can be referred since we are using Python, right? So this CSV file can be referred to as a data frame in Python if we use PD function with it. So we have already imported it using PD, right? So now this df is basically a data frame, and then df.showType will basically fetch you this column. Now over here we are putting a condition. We are checking for equality that if the showType is a sandal, and if it is black in color, then only show me the results. So then obviously it ran through the entire data set, even if it has 100 lines, let's say 1000 lines. And then it found out that only 2 columns are matching these 2 criteria. So then it is displaying the both of the results in the form of a table again. So over here, it is not really changing the original data frame, which is this one. It is just showing you a part of the data frame. So if you want to save this, then you will have to probably declare another data frame and assign it to it that, okay, I want this new data frame to be created based on these two conditions. Similarly, there are other problems here as well. So we'll just pick up a little speed and move ahead. So now you know how to import it. Now you know how to see the first, you know how to import a CSV file. You know how to see the first 10 rows. And you also know how you can manipulate it based on what you want to see. So if you want to see someone based on their name, you can do that. You can filter people based on email, shoes, etc. Now the next part of it is how to create a data frame, right? So you can, like I said, if you create a dictionary and if you pass it to this function data.frame, which we did over here, just a second, which we did over here, that is, we basically passed this dictionary through it. So it gave us a data frame. So similarly, this is what's been told over here. Like if you have pandas as PD, you have imported it, and then you have passed this dictionary through this function. They directly passed it. I created a separate dictionary and then I passed it. Same thing will give you the same result. So if you print it, and this is somewhat the output that you'll get. So these are basically the keys and these are the values. So product ID is nothing but this, and these are the keys of the data type entered. So over here, there are a couple of tasks. I don't think we have enough time for the same. But yeah, so if you want to practice this, maybe I can get it to you, like the same exact question. Ashwin, do you think we have the time like to solve maybe 2 questions? Will that be okay?
Yeah, sure, Jasleen. Let's do that.
Okay, cool. So I'll just copy paste that and I won't show you the solution. So this is exactly based on what we just did. So I'll just share the solution that we did, and I'll also share the question. We can try it. If it's not done, it's okay. We can move ahead. But I'd like for you to try it at least. You can open anything. You can open a Jupyter Notebook or a Google Colab. It will work seamlessly there. You won't have to install anything immediately. So you can open Google Colab or a Jupyter Notebook and get going. So this is the solution part which we discussed. And now there's another question which says you have to create a data frame with the following data and you have to pass it in the following format. So the data frame looks something like this. So the first line has been done for you. You can just, you don't even need to open an IDE right now. What you can do is, you can just let me know the next line that you might possibly type. So I'll just give like 2 minutes for this and then we can get going. Just the next line. So imagine the columns and based on the columns, enter the values. Simple. Let's not complicate it too much. So maybe one of you can just give me the next line and another person can go for the third line. There are basically 2 more lines to be written here. I'm only making you do it because, since I said it's a study session, so you must actually kind of do a little bit of studying because that's the best way to actually retain things. Because if you don't really do it and implement it at the same time, our brain tends to forget whatever we just learned. So even if you just type out these 2 lines on a piece of paper or your notepad, whatever, it will stay with you for a very long time, trust me. Because that is how, even if you're listening to like half of whatever I said, if you try to do this small bit yourself, you'll pretty much get the hang of it. Yep, Sri Harshini is right. Product name, yep, that's what we do. Great. Anyone can come up with the next line maybe? I'll just reshare my screen in the meantime.
Jasleen, there's a query in the chat box. Maybe you can attend it.
Yeah, sure. Did I miss it? Okay. Easy way to learn a language like C by seeing tutorial. Code along with it. Okay. See, the way I learned coding was on pen and paper, but I think we're very past that now. For basic concepts, you can use a pen and paper, for example, loops and stuff, if you want to do pattern printing and all of those things. But other than that, the best way is to code along. That would be my advice. Like, that's what I'm trying to get you guys to do right now as well. Because coding along will actually implement the concept more in your brain. And obviously, coding along and then running it will give you that satisfaction that, okay, I know how to do this. So then you won't lose motivation in the long run to study something, and you won't also need a teacher in a way who will validate you. So if you're coding along and your output is coming and your code is running, so you are on the right path of learning it yourself. So that would be my advice. And yes, the next line will be color blue, green, red, black. I'll reshare my screen. 1 second. Okay. So there are 6 lessons to it. We'll try to cover at least 2 or 3, and then we'll move on to Numpy. So yeah, that while you were also doing it, I did it as well. We ran it, and it showed us an output like this. So our job is good to go. Now we can check out the next lesson, and then we can go into Numpy. So this is basically creating, loading, and selecting data with Pandas. So we have created it like this, and you can also run a chain of, this is just a story that they give to make you better understand what you want to do. So over here, what we can do is we can add 2 more columns, and similarly, we can also assign column names. So basically, they're asking you to create the 3rd and 4th rows and the column names. So again, this is also pretty simple and similar to what we did. Now, since it's already 6:42, let me start a little bit with Numpy. And if I have time in the end, we'll come back to this question of Pandas. So let's jump in a little bit into Numpy as well. And yeah, if you feel that, you're getting the hang of it and you're liking it, I honestly won't mind doing another study session on the same topic, because again, that is how you learn. And if it's fun for the audience, obviously, I'll be really glad to come back and teach. I know 1 hour is not enough. Like I said in the beginning, 1 hour is not enough to teach you everything, but it is enough to get you started on the right track. So typically, let's start a little bit from the back. So we did the introduction part already, right? This is again, Codecademy is really great because it helps you to study in the story kind of format, which really helps you retain stuff. So if you are not on Codecademy already, there are a lot of free courses. You don't have to just go directly for the paid ones. You can go ahead with the free ones as well. So importing Numpy, I hope everyone's clear with that. And then we did this part as well, that converting it into a Numpy array using np.array function. And like I said, it is not just for 1D arrays, it is for 2D, 3D, and so on. This is basically what a matrix or a 2D array will be looking like. So we can create a structure like this also in Python without using anything else, just we need to use Numpy. And obviously, you can store the results, the ratings, you can manipulate it. You can also manipulate which column to print, which column to not print. That is the beauty of Numpy. So we use Numpy for these kinds of manipulations and mathematical stuff. And for data frames, we use Pandas. I think the Pandas documentation might load. We can just let it run in the meantime. So it efficiently works with many numbers at once. It helps in generating random numbers. So random numbers come in handy when we are, doing ML related stuff, or where we need random passwords, captchas, things like that. So random numbers come really handy over there. And also sign, cost, and mean, median, stuff like that. So let's move on to the next lesson. Importing is done. We're clear on how to import it. Third, it includes a powerful data structure known as array. So it is a special type of list basically, but I already explained how it runs faster than a list. That's why we use it. And it looks a lot like a NumPy Python list, but it is not. It's actually a NumPy array. So the difference should always be clear in your head. This is what a normal list looks like, and this is what a NumPy array will look like. So now if we print this also, let's see if the IDE would let me print it. Otherwise, I'll just copy paste and we can do it on, yeah. So it will look like this, right? And if we print and use the type function, it's telling you it is a NumPy ND array. ND array means 1D array, right? So moving on to the next lesson, how to create an array from a CSV. So we saw that as a CSV file, we imported it and made it into a Pandas data frame. Now we will see how to create it in the form of an array, right? So typically you won't be entering data directly into an array, you'll be importing it from somewhere else. That is the case in any data science problem. You always get a data set from the person who is setting the problem or who is asking you to solve it, or from the company you're working at. Anywhere they will give you a data set. So you have to get the data from the given data set, which is usually in an Excel file or a CSV file. So we can transform it from a CSV file to an array using the gen from text function. So if, for example, this is the data in the CSV file and you want to convert it and you just add this delimiter. Delimiters are nothing but comma, full stop, all of these things, semicolons in coding languages. It basically tells the computer that, you have to stop at this point, include this special character and then move ahead. So then if you do this, it will create your CSV array. And then you can obviously print it and see what's going on over there. So over here, there's given as a task that you have to convert the second test, import the student score on the second test from the CSV test to CSV into an array, save the array with the name test2. So if we just follow whatever is being asked here, you guys can also do it at the same time. I would love a good response in the chat. So this is probably the last lesson we are covering. So we'll have 10 minutes Q&A in the end. So if you're there and if you want to try to solve this, whatever they've asked us to do, let me know. And please try to code it along with me. And yeah, I'll just copy this function name because programmers are very lazy to type what to do. And the name of the file is test2csv. And obviously we have to add the delimiter as they said, because without that it will appear in a very haphazard and unorganized way, which we don't want. Now we have saved the array. Now let's see if it's right. Yep, it is correct because it ran seamlessly and it was able to import. Now we can print and see what is happening in test2 as well. It is giving the scores, right? As it said over here, inputting student scores into an array by hand was too time consuming. So we imported it using the get gen from text function of NumPy library. And if we just check the type of this data type once again, just to see out of curiosity, what is the data type of the same? It is showing us NumPy ND array. Now, similarly, if for example, I have another list, say, let me call it Jasleen's list. And I put in my favorite numbers in it. No idea why I call them favorite numbers, but yeah. And we try to check the type of the same. So it is obviously giving us the list. So if you have to check the type, for example, if you're a data scientist and you're working with something and you've already see some code being written and you don't know what kind of a data set it is or what kind of data type it is, you can always use the type function for the same to find out what's going on. And with that, we are exactly on time and the documentation opened, yay. So yeah, like I told you, it was developed by Wes McKinney. Similarly, NumPy also has its own documentation just like this. And it has all the data of whatever Pandas does. So for example, at any point you're working with time series and you're stuck and you don't have help and online solutions, Stack Overflow, nothing is working. you decide to come to the documentation, you read through it, you see the examples, you most probably will find the solution to your problem in the documentation. And as you can see, it is a huge document. It has 3,717 pages. So, I mean, it obviously makes sense that someone actually sat down and wrote all of this for someone to use it. So the best tip that I mostly give people who are just starting out with these libraries is that read the documentation. It is one of the best features out there for any kind of libraries. You can watch courses, you can code along, but the libraries that are there, they are much more expensive than how we use them in our courses or college work or daily life. But in an employee standpoint, you will be needing to know more than the educational part or whatever is covered in these webinars, because it is not possible to actually cover every single thing. So always make it a tip to look into the documentation of whatever software or whatever library you're trying to learn. And with that, I think that's my time. It's 6:50, like I promised. So if we have 10 more minutes, we can take questions and answers if there are any. Or if you just want to come off mute, turn on your cameras and talk, we can do that as well. Need not be technical. We can just catch up. If you have any questions about internships, ambassador programs, anything you might want to know, feel free to ask me. No questions really, guys. I know online sessions are boring and we have gotten way too bored of all of this, but we can even talk. It doesn't really matter about what we want to talk about. Maybe you guys can let me know in the chat, how was your day? What was the highlight of your day? I hope it was this session.
I think, just online classes for these many years made us into a tough crowd. You don't respond to almost anything.
I am the same person who does all of this in my own classes, so I know I'm not even offended. I'm like, I get you that you don't want to talk.
Yeah.
I mean, I was pretty terrified right now. You know what happened, Ashwin? I posted it on my story, and one of my professors joined in. I saw them comment something in the chat just now. I was like, oh no. And now I have WhatsApp messages from the professor about the session. So I will have to do a lot of answering in his class later on, that you don't answer in my class and there you are hosting your own sessions.
Okay.
So yeah, it is done from my end. If these guys want to leave, that's totally cool. Let me know what you want to do.
Jasleen, hi, Abhishek this side. Actually, I got confused with the timing part. I didn't know what time it was supposed to start. I joined very late. I thought, looking at the message in the WhatsApp, it says that 1 hour to go. Probably I thought that it's going to start right now. And that's...
Yeah, it started at 6 actually.
Oh, that's all right. I think it got...
Yeah, 6 p.m.
No worries. I actually joined at 6:40 or something. I thought probably this is the time.
These guys are actually recording it, right, Ashwin? So I think the recording will be made available, right?
Yes, Jasleen. So
yeah, okay, great. I'll probably just share that in my group as well.
Yeah. So let me put in the chapter landing page in the chat. You can check the recording over there later as well.
I see one of my classmates is also here. Hi, Ashutosh. You don't have to call me ma'am.
Hi, how are you?
Okay.
Hi, Jasleen, hi.
Hi, Ashutosh. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I just wanted to see how you were teaching. Yeah. It's great learning.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah, nice.
I think we're good to conclude, right?
Yes, Jason. So, guys, if you don't have any doubts, let's wrap up this event over here. thank you all for really joining, and I would like to especially thank Jasleen for this amazing event. So
Thank you, Jasleen.
yeah, so for the guys who are really interested in data science, right, we also have follow-up events in the future. So stay tuned on the socials, and yeah, that's it from my side.
Thank you. Thank you for whoever attended. I hope it was worth your time. Thank you. Good night. Have fun, everyone. Enjoy your evening. New to coding, any suggestions? Practice a lot. That's all I can tell you. Code at least like half an hour every day without fail. Be it a small problem or watching a small video or doing any kind of course, do it every day for half an hour. You will improve vastly in a matter of a month or even 2 months. Devote half an hour every day. Depends on what you want to do. I mean, what do you want to start with? Do you want to start with Python? Do you want to start with something else? You can, like I said, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or on Twitter, wherever you're comfortable. And I guess we can talk a bit more about it if you like. I also do one-on-one mentoring sessions. So if you're open to that as well, I'd be happy to share the link with you. Just allow me a minute. I'll go ahead and do that. Just give me 1 moment. I'll just quickly share that link. Yeah. So in case you want to catch up and discuss more about what you want to do with your journey in tech, you can book a call with me and we can talk about it in proper depth one-on-one. Thank you. I hope you had a good 1 hour.